Vladimir Putin is not averse to using unusual methods of dealing with people. We saw that with the Novichok attack, the nerve agent Novichok attack in Salisbury in 2018. We saw that with the use of polonium-210 on the streets of London. He uses novel methods of assassinating people, and he's probably sitting there with his design team saying, why have you not got me exploding pagers beforehand? You look at it, there's not many opportunities will come where you're going to get a mass use of the same thing coming through the same supply chain at the same time, and therefore the sophistication of this and overemphasizing the threat against mobile devices, other mobile devices, to force your target to change its communications policy and do this, that shows a level of understanding, and that understanding will come from intelligence analysis, from agents that they've got on the ground, from influence that's coming in at different levels. And once you know that you're doing that, it's then setting everything else up to be ready for the opportune whenever it comes. Tampering with something that looks like an everyday object that people are using, and using that to then have an effect, whether that's a physical effect or a cyber effect, is not uncommon. We look at the Stuxnet attack against the Iranian uranium centrifuges. Try saying that if you've had a glass or two. They were isolated from the internet, or the Americans and Israelis, or the Israelis managed to get this virus cross the air gap and in, and they did that by altering USB sticks and scattering them around the place, and someone picked one up, took it into the office and plugged it into the machine. That is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for nation states and potentially large criminal / terror organizations to get spyware onto people's phones, where they can turn the microphone on, the camera on, and you don't know it. Getting slightly more sophisticated, getting explosives in, because that will have had to been designed, manufactured, brought in a way where the devices could be disassembled quickly, these items put in and reassembled, knowing that they're going to work normally. There'd be nothing suspicious about it whatsoever. The packaging would seem as if it had been done, so get them properly repackaged takes a lot of resources. But a large number of our criminal organizations and a large number of our terror organizations, you have the potential capacity to do that sort of thing.
I don't think our smartphones, I don't think our the Internet of Things, as it's called, could turn around and blow us all up. But I think what could happen is that the lines of communication that we use in order to communicate in cyberspace, they could be targeted and destroyed with ease. And there are very disturbing reports of Russian ships scoping the underwater cables. It's very important to people should understand. If you ask, I used to ask my students, where is cyberspace? What is cyberspace? Where is cyberspace? Everybody uses the term. And one or two of the brave ones used to sort of point up there and say cyberspace is up there. Of course, it isn't there. It's basically down there. It's in cables. The radio waves simply link your device to the nearest mast, and the nearest mast directs you to the cable. Yet we are very vulnerable from these cables. And as we discovered when Snowden made his revelations about the cables coming out, you can go to the place in North Cornwall and see where the cables come out of the sea and into a box that goes to the government communications center. In theory, all you've got to do is get an explosive charge and blow up that cable, and links between the UK and the United States are not totally destroyed, but largely destroyed. I say not totally destroyed because, of course, there are satellites now, and satellites can carry messages. But there are all sorts of highly technical reasons why cables are much more secure for communication than satellite, and also more effective. So I fear sabotage. And in a way, that's what we were seeing with those exploding pages. It was sabotage. And I do think this is a real moment of danger of a regional war, and if there is a regional war, then there is a danger of a wider war and possibly a world war, and this needs to be faced up to. I don't think it's a war, a world war, or even a regional war that anybody wants. But these wars, major wars, happen when people are no longer, political leaders are no longer in control of events. The Iranians and Hezbollah feared quite properly that if they were to use smartphones, they would be tracked. Don't forget, Israel holds the Golan Heights to the north. And we're talking about a relatively small space here. If you're on top of the Golan Heights, you can listen into Syria on the one side and the Lebanon on the other side. So you use a smartphone, in theory, the Israeli Defense Force will be able to tell where you are. So you can understand the reason they said, get rid of your smartphones, use a pager, which allows communication, but communication done much more primitively, which cannot be tracked by communications interception, allegedly. So we understand why that was the case. And it was done in a very refined way. We assume that BAC Consulting, the supplier, may well have been a front company set up by the Mossad. Intelligence agencies, including MI6, do this all the time. They got an operation they need to do. They will set up a company to camouflage and conceal what their object is. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if BAC Consulting was not a Mossad company. And they inserted not just software, which the Israelis are very good at doing, but also a small explosive charge. You'll recall originally we were told that what was going to happen, what had happened was that the batteries, the lithium batteries, had exploded. Now we know that lithium batteries can overheat and cause fires, but they don't make explosions. Yet the images we've had, people, with their abdomen blown open, their hands blown off, damages to the head, that indicates that alongside the software, a small amount of explosive was inserted into each of these devices. But basically the damage that was done was damage to fighters. And I think world public opinion will understand that fighters fight. And even though they were doing, we saw one person appeared to be a greengrocer, yet these were active fighters standing by for a message from their chief, and the explosions happened.